21 Biblical Events Verified by Science. The Bible stands as one of the most significant narratives in human history. Regardless of individual beliefs or the question of the Bible's historical accuracy, it is undeniable that this ancient text is filled with captivating stories and remarkable characters. The Bible is also one of the most widely read and sold books globally, with an estimated 4 billion copies distributed. While it is a significant cultural testament of the Western world, many have wondered whether the Bible could be considered a historical document. Some of the stories within, such as a sea parting in two or a flood engulfing the known world, might seem like science fiction. Yet, modern science and archaeology have provided evidence that some of these events have a basis in reality, including the parting of a sea and the flood that led Noah to build his ark. In this exploration, we will delve into 21 biblical events, stories, or characters whose existence or occurrence has been supported by modern historiography, archaeology, or scientific verification. 1. The historical Jesus. While the Old Testament is filled with significant stories and figures, Jesus of Nazareth, Jesus Christ, is undeniably the central figure of the New Testament and the Christian faith. For centuries, the existence of Jesus was debated. The Gospels in the Bible, though long accepted as absolute truth during the Middle Ages, are not historical documents in the traditional sense. Instead, they were written to convey the beliefs, theology, and importance of Christ. After the Enlightenment, questions about Jesus' existence grew, but various historical texts from different cultures have since confirmed his existence. One of the most important sources is the Jewish historian Flavius Josephus, whose writings document the existence of Jesus and even mention his crucifixion under Pontius Pilate. While the divinity of Jesus remains a matter of faith, the historical evidence affirms that Jesus was a real person who lived in the 1st century AD. 2. The Tower of Babel. According to the book of Genesis, the Tower of Babel was built by the descendants of Noah who settled in Babylon after the Great Flood. The Bible recounts that these people, driven by pride, attempted to build a tower that reached the heavens. Angered by their arrogance, God confused their language and scattered them across the earth. Though there is no direct archaeological evidence of this story, the description and location of the Tower of Babel suggest it could be one of the 30 ancient ziggurats discovered in the region of ancient Babylon. These towering structures, built as temples, might be the inspiration behind the biblical story. 3. Noah's Great Flood. Scientific evidence supports the occurrence of a significant flood, though not necessarily one that covered the entire world. Approximately 7,000 years ago, a massive flood in the Black Sea submerged around 160,000 square kilometers of land. The sea level rose by about 30 meters, likely leading to the deaths of thousands in the area. While the biblical account describes a global flood, which seems unlikely, the timing and scale of this flood suggest it could be the same catastrophic event referenced in the Bible. Similar flood stories are also found in other ancient cultures, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh and myths from ancient Greece and Rome, indicating that they might all stem from this same historical flood. 4. Noah's Ark. In addition to the flood, there are claims of evidence supporting the existence of Noah's Arkansas. For instance, an object resembling a large boat was discovered on Mount Judy, the site traditionally associated with the Ark's final resting place in Christian tradition. A large wooden structure was also found on Mount Ararat. Even Marco Polo mentioned a boat on a mountain in his writings. However, many researchers, including biologists, argue that finding an intact ark is unlikely. They suggest that survivors would have dismantled the vessel to use the wood for building homes and settlements. 5. The Old Testament earthquake. The books of Zechariah and Amos in the Old Testament mention a significant earthquake that shook Israel in the 8th century BC. Researchers have found evidence of seismic activity in various regions of Israel around this time. In 2021, the Israel Antiquities Authority announced that excavations in the City of David National Park revealed evidence of a quake that might have struck Jerusalem, the capital of the Kingdom of Judah. Artifacts such as lamps, utensils, and jars were discovered in a state of destruction, likely caused by the earthquake rather than fire or warfare. 6. The Plagues of Egypt. The book of Exodus recounts that God sent 10 plagues upon Egypt to compel Pharaoh to release the Hebrews from slavery. While the idea of divine intervention may seem far-fetched, Scientific explanations have been proposed for some of these plagues. For example, the Bible describes the Nile River turning to blood, which scientists suggest could have been caused by a red algae bloom during a drought, turning the water red. The subsequent plagues of frogs, lice, and flies might have been natural consequences of the algae's impact on the environment. Diseases like malaria, spread by mosquitoes, could explain the death of livestock and the sores on the afflicted. Finally, the eruption of a volcano in Santorini, 640 kilometers from Egypt, might account for the plagues of fire and hail, locusts, and darkness over Egypt. 7. King Solomon. In Jerusalem, archaeological excavations have uncovered evidence of a large wall, 70 meters long, which is believed to have been built during the reign of King Solomon. This discovery aligns with the biblical description of Solomon as a powerful and wealthy king who undertook major construction projects, including the first temple in Jerusalem. Archaeological findings and historical evidence have continuously shed light on the veracity of numerous biblical accounts. Let's delve deeper into some key discoveries that not only confirm these ancient narratives, but also enrich our understanding of the historical contexts in which these events unfolded. 1. The Wall of King Solomon. In Jerusalem, an impressive wall was unearthed, measuring approximately 70 meters in length and 6 meters in height. This monumental structure dates back to the second half of the 10th century BC, which corresponds with the period traditionally attributed to King Solomon's reign, as detailed in the Bible. The discovery of this wall lends credence to the biblical passage that describes Solomon constructing a massive fortification to defend the city, highlighting the historical accuracy of his reign and the power he wielded during Israel's united monarchy. 2. King David and the Tel Dan stele. King David, one of the most iconic figures in the Bible, is said to have ruled a united Israel around 1000 BC. His legendary battle against the Philistine giant Goliath is one of the most celebrated stories in Western tradition. However, until the late 20th century, there was little archaeological evidence to support his existence. That changed between 1993 and 1994, when the Tel Dan stele was discovered. This ancient stone inscription mentions the House of David, marking the first non-biblical reference to David's dynasty. Although it does not provide a detailed account of his life, it confirms that David was a real historical figure whose lineage played a significant role in the region. 3. The Philistines and the city of Gath. The Philistines, depicted throughout the Old Testament as the perennial enemies of the Israelites, have long been subjects of both myth and skepticism. Goliath, the Philistine giant defeated by David, is perhaps the most famous of these antagonists. For centuries, some scholars doubted the Philistines' very existence. However, archaeological excavations in the late 19th century uncovered the city of Gath, Goliath's purported hometown, among other Philistine settlements. These findings confirm the Philistines were indeed a significant culture, comprising 5 major city-states, and provide a historical foundation for their depiction in the Bible. 4. The ancient city of Jerusalem. Jerusalem holds profound significance for Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. Yet for a long time, there was uncertainty about when it first acquired its name. This changed in October 2018, when archaeologists uncovered the earliest known inscription of the word Jerusalem on a column from an ancient pottery workshop. This discovery not only pushes back the timeline for the city's name, but also underscores its long-standing importance as a cultural and religious hub. 5. The prophet Isaiah. In Jerusalem, during an excavation, archaeologists uncovered what could be the first physical evidence of the prophet Isaiah, a central figure in the Old Testament who is credited with helping protect the kingdom of Judah from Assyrian invasion. A clay seal impression was found bearing the name Isaiah in Hebrew, followed by the initial letters of what could be the word prophet. Dating back to the 8th century BC, this artifact would be one of the oldest historical pieces corroborating a biblical figure's existence. 6. Queen Jezebel. Queen Jezebel, one of the Bible's most notorious characters, is described in the Old Testament as a ruler who promoted the worship of her own god in Israel, leading to her eventual downfall. According to the biblical account, she was thrown from a window and left to be eaten by dogs. In 1964, a seal bearing the image of a lion sphinx with a woman's head was discovered in Israel. The symbols on the seal, including a sun and a double cobra, are indicative of royalty, leading scholars to believe it may have belonged to Queen Jezebel herself. This seal provides a rare glimpse into the life and reign of a queen who left a lasting mark on biblical history. 7. Herod the Great. Herod the Great, infamous for his role in the massacre of the innocents as described in the New Testament, has been a subject of both historical and religious study. In 2007, a team from the Hebrew University uncovered Herod's tomb, identified by its monumental construction, which matched descriptions of his funeral provided by the ancient historian Flavius Josephus. This discovery not only verifies the existence of Herod, but also provides insights into the opulence and influence he wielded during his reign. 8. Pontius Pilate. Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea who presided over the trial and crucifixion of Jesus Christ, plays a pivotal role in the New Testament. However, for many years, no administrative records or physical evidence of Pilate's existence had been found. That changed in 1961 when archaeologists discovered the Pilate stone in the ruins of Caesarea Maritima, Israel. This limestone block bears an inscription naming Pilate as the prefect of Judea, thereby confirming his historical presence and his role in one of history's most famous trials. 9. Mary Magdalene. Mary Magdalene is a figure shrouded in mystery and myth, particularly regarding her life after the death of Jesus Christ. Medieval legends suggested that she fled Israel and settled in what is now France. Today, a skeleton in the Church of Saint Maximin in Provence, France, is believed by some to be Mary Magdalene's remains. Recent scientific analyses have reconstructed the face of the skeleton, identifying it as that of a woman of Mediterranean descent who died around the age of 50. While further evidence is required to definitively confirm her identity, the physical and historical clues strongly suggest that this could be Mary Magdalene. 10. Caiaphas the High Priest. Caiaphas, the high priest who, according to the New Testament, accused Jesus of blasphemy and handed him over to the Roman authorities, has long been a figure of interest. In 1990, workers accidentally uncovered a burial chamber in Jerusalem containing an ossuary inscribed with the name Joseph, son of Caiaphas. Inside were the remains of a 60-year-old man, who many believe could be Caiaphas himself. This discovery provides a tangible connection to one of the key figures involved in the events leading up to the crucifixion of Jesus. 17. Judas Iscariot, the apostle of betrayal. Among the figures in the New Testament, few carry as much weight as Judas Iscariot, the disciple who betrayed Jesus to the Roman authorities. While the existence of many biblical characters is debated, there is a strong consensus among historians that Judas Iscariot was indeed a real person. Unlike other figures whose existence is supported by archaeological findings, the evidence for Judas comes from logical analysis and the consistency of his story across the Gospels. It seems improbable that early Christians would fabricate the narrative of a disciple betraying the Messiah, as this could undermine the credibility of their faith. Moreover, Judas' role is one of the few elements that remain consistent across all four canonical Gospels, further supporting the likelihood of his existence. 18. Adam and Eve, the ancestors of humanity. The story of Adam and Eve in the book of Genesis is a foundational narrative for many religions, but concrete evidence supporting their literal existence is lacking. However, scientific discoveries in genetics offer a fascinating perspective. Research into mitochondrial DNA has identified what is known as mitochondrial Eve, a woman from whom all humans inherit their mitochondrial DNA, suggesting a common ancestor from Africa. Similarly, the concept of a Y-chromosomal Adam has emerged, referring to a common male ancestor. Although these findings do not confirm the biblical account in a literal sense, they do support the idea that all humans share common ancestors, potentially aligning with the broader themes of the Genesis narrative. 19. Abraham, the patriarch of nations. Abraham is a pivotal figure in the traditions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, revered as the common ancestor of these faiths. Despite his importance, the historicity of Abraham has been the subject of debate for centuries. Some modern historians viewed Abraham as a mythical or exaggerated figure, particularly given the biblical references to him leading caravans with domesticated camels. This detail was long considered anachronistic since it was believed camels were not domesticated in the region until around the 10th century BC, well after Abraham's supposed lifetime. However, more recent archaeological findings have uncovered evidence of domesticated camels in the Near East long before Abraham's era, lending credibility to the biblical account and suggesting that he may indeed have been a real historical figure. 20. Nazareth, the hometown of Jesus. Before becoming known as Jesus Christ, the Messiah, he was known as Jesus of Nazareth. For many years, scholars debated whether Nazareth even existed during the Roman period, as there was little archaeological evidence to support its existence. However, in 2009, the Israel Antiquities Authority made a significant discovery. They unearthed remains of small residences, ancient stone tools, and other artifacts dating back to the 1st century, confirming that Nazareth did indeed exist during Jesus' lifetime. While there is no direct evidence linking these finds to Jesus himself, the humble nature of the dwellings suggests they could have belonged to people like carpenters, fitting the description of Jesus' early life. 21. The parting of the Red Sea. A scientific perspective. One of the most dramatic and iconic events in the Bible is Moses parting the Red Sea to allow the Israelites to escape from Egypt. While this miraculous event is often depicted in films and literature, scientific explanations have been proposed to offer a natural basis for it. A study by a team of engineers suggests that strong winds, reaching speeds of over 60 miles per hour, 96 kilometers per hour, could indeed push back the waters of a shallow coastal area, temporarily exposing the seabed. This phenomenon, known as wind set-down, could create a dry path across the water, similar to the biblical description. While this doesn't confirm Moses' divine powers, it provides a plausible natural explanation for the event, adding a layer of realism to the biblical narrative. Conclusion: the intersection of faith and science. The Bible remains one of the most significant and influential texts in Western culture, transcending religious boundaries to serve as a historical record and a collection of deeply compelling stories. The fact that science has been able to verify some aspects of these biblical accounts, or at least provide plausible explanations for them, only deepens the fascination with this ancient text. Whether one approaches the Bible as a sacred scripture or as a literary and historical document, its impact on culture and society is undeniable. As we continue to explore these stories through the lens of modern science, our understanding of both the Bible and the ancient world it describes becomes richer and more nuanced.